I wasn't really bullied much. As a kid, everyone goes through something.
Which is fine.
When you get a little bit older and you're the tallest person in the room, yeah, a lot of that kind of goes away, right? I've had 3 surgeries in 5 years. I've always kind of said, a smart man will learn from his mistakes. I think a wise man will also learn from other people's mistakes.
Big dreams, bigger detours, but he never gave up. Welcome back to yet another episode with Midday with Ranjay, stories of resilience and reinvention. I'm your host Ranjay, and today's guest is someone who embodies the warrior spirit on and off the mat. For over 30 years, Master Stock has dedicated his life to the martial arts. A 7-degree black belt in Tang Soo Do and a Hall of Fame inductee, he's not just teaching kicks and punches, he is shaping lives. From judo lessons as a boy to founding White Crest Martial Arts, his journey is filled with moments of grit, growth, and giving back to the community. Today we dive into his path from early struggles and second chances to building a community. Nothing is given, everything is earned. This episode is about discipline, purpose, and staying grounded even when life throws its hardest punches. Let's step into the dojang and the story of Master Stock. Let's go. Tang Soo, Master Stock.
Tang Soo, sir, good to see you.
Good to see you, good to see you. Let me get the slippers off the way here. How have you been?
Not too bad, sir. How about yourself?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so excited to meet you. You have no idea.
Yes, sir. I've been looking forward to this.
I was curious to understand about the journey. You've been a community leader here and inspiring so many people. I really am looking forward to this conversation, understand about your journey. Are you game for it?
Absolutely, sir. Let's get started.
Let's get started, sir.
Yes, sir.
So finally, I know I've been trying to schedule this for quite some time. Finally,
yes,
our calendars synced, and I'm glad that we are here and chatting with you.
Absolutely. I know schedules are not easy to coordinate nowadays, but I'm glad we're here and I'm ready to go.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I've got a bunch of questions, and the disclaimer is that I'm not a professional podcaster, right? I'm trying to know the theme, as you know, that we're trying to bring up stories from community leader, from business leader, from sportsmen, people who have a story of resilience, a story of reinvention. And in today's day and age, people think that, all the bad things are happening with me. And one failure, one setback, and they are down and the dumps. And that's what I really want to address. I want to tell them that, listen, it's okay to fail. And I think your journey has been a testament to the theme of this podcast. So let's get started.
Yes, sir.
So, Master Stock, take us back to that young boy trying judo. And what do you remember most from those early days?
Remember falling a lot. Okay. They call judo the gentle way. Mm-hmm. Judo is basically jiu-jitsu without strikes. So it's a lot of throws and takedowns, and you're gonna hit the floor a lot.
Okay.
And I was maybe 7, maybe 8 years old at the time. But as I got older, I really wanted to do something with punches and kicks and things like that. And a couple of years later, I was able to start into Tang Soo Do.
Okay. Now, you said you started with judo and then you moved to Tang Soo Do. What do you do Tang Soo Do as a teenager, even when you didn't know what it was?
I knew I wanted to do karate.
Okay.
Okay. Tang Soo Do was just Korean karate.
Okay.
Okay. At the end of the day, Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, Shotokan, karate. Karate is actually its own style. Years and years ago, they started using karate as a general term, like the term martial arts.
Okay.
But karate is its own style.
Okay.
So back in like the 80s towards the 90s, they would just say, oh, you do karate. They would just say it as a general term. No, I do Tang Soo Do, or I do this, or I do that. It just became a general term.
So it's like Taekwondo is also part of, as a layman, it's part of the martial arts, judo, karate, Taekwondo.
Everything, absolutely. Now, some styles focus on more specific things. Like I said, judo focuses straight on falls, takedowns, groundwork. Jiu-jitsu has that as well, but there's also the strikes and things like that, and locks. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu takes all that and just the groundwork of it, takedowns and grappling. So every style kind of focuses on specific things, which is why MMA, which is mixed martial arts, they're just trying to...
They're using everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So everything focuses on specific things. When I was a teenager, I was like, I want to get into karate. I want kicks and punches, I grew up watching people like Jean-Claude Van Damme. I was like, I want to kick like that. So I wanted something with the kicks and strikes and all that.
Did your upbringing influence your journey in martial arts? Would you say that?
I would say so.
Okay. And you said you had 2 siblings, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm the baby of the family. I'm the youngest.
Brothers, sisters?
Brother and sister, they're both older than me. One of the questions we always get asked is, what made you start martial arts? And a lot of people, hey, it was a bully, it was this, it was that. I wasn't really bullied much. As a kid, everyone goes through something.
Which is fine. When
you get a little bit older and you're the tallest person in the room, a lot of that kind of goes away, right? If you can imagine. But even then, when I look back on it, I come from a broken home, and my outlet was always like watching movies and things like that. And I was like, man, I want to be like Chuck Norris, and I want to be like Van Damme, and I want to do that just because I thought it looked so cool. I want to be a part of that. As I got older and I started to really understand, it wasn't so much, just starting martial arts, it wasn't so much I wanted to look cool like that, I wanted to be a hero. Because I never had one growing up. All my heroes were on the television screen.
Gotcha.
I wanted to be a hero in life. And that's where it really set me up as far as in the martial arts. And even to this day, I kind of have that same mentality.
You wanted to create your own example and lead, right?
Absolutely.
The theme, as I mentioned, resilience and reinvention, and this is something very close to me. I have gone through my share of failures. In fact, I find new ways of failing every day. I have a big team that I manage across 2 different continents, and the mantra of my company is that fail. Find new ways to fail. Don't commit the same mistake, but fail fast. Because if you're not failing enough, you're not trying enough. And we, as a company, in a way, it sounds cliche, but we kind of promote failing. And you wear it as a badge of honor. How many times have you failed? Because that means you're trying hard.
Well, I think you have to learn from those failures.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've always kind of said, a smart man will learn from his mistakes. I think a wise man will also learn from other people's mistakes. Because I've had that moment where someone's going to do something, I said, hey, you might want to rethink that. That's not going to work. Because I've been through that. I've already made that mistake, and they don't listen, they do it anyway, and then they get all upset. And you want to say, I told you so. But if you have someone that obviously they didn't trust me enough to listen.
Right.
And okay, but that's on you. Now you learned. If I made a mistake, and I tell my students all the time, I said, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. I'm sure they'll make their own. There's plenty of opportunity to fail out there. There's plenty of mistakes left to happen, And I don't know anyone who's never failed at anything. I don't know anyone that's never made a mistake. It's gonna happen. But that resiliency to keep coming back, it's that old adage of fall down 7 times, get up 8 times, You have to keep overcoming it. And in today's society, people give up too easy.
True, and that's where brings me to my next agenda, or rather the next portion of my podcast, where I want to ask you and go deep down in your brain, how your brain functions. Okay, are we okay with it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, as I said, resilience and reinvention. Were there any moments of doubt when you almost gave up on martial arts? And if yes, Or I mean, obviously no, but what kept you going?
My love for the martial arts.
Okay.
There have been times, absolutely, there have been times where I had doubt. Even with my school, I've had a lot of ups and downs. But I knew this was my passion, this was what I wanted. Nothing was gonna stop that. But there was a few times where I thought, even surviving my business kept going through COVID. There were times where I was like, man, I'm gonna lose it. And if I do that, I'm gonna lose everything, because this is my whole life leading up to this. But it was my love for the arts, my passion for it, and I still have that.
How do you get that motivation from?
If the passion is that strong, you will find a way to make it happen. Most people, they like something, but they're not willing to work for it. This past weekend, I took my students to a tournament. A good friend of mine ran a tournament right up there in Indian Land. And I'm watching my students compete, and I start to tear up when I watch them compete, because they are an extension of me. And when I told my students, I said, you represent Whitecrest Martial Arts. That doesn't just mean the school, that means everyone in it. And they did me proud. And so that helps ignite my passion, because you know what? Okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And watching my students compete, and they're bringing medals home, and they're just, I'm getting messages from the parents. Oh, my daughter's still on cloud 9. She's so excited. The students help keep that passion going. And when I see them succeed, that's a little bit, I had a little bit to do with that. That makes me feel.
Talking about reinvention, how did you reinvent from a student to an instructor to a school founder and an entrepreneur?
Time. When I was 19, I was pretty much running a school for my first instructor. I was not ready. I mean, I wanted to be an instructor. I knew that was already in my mind, but I wasn't ready to be an instructor. I wasn't ready to run a business. I didn't know how to handle money. I didn't know how to handle this. I wasn't strict enough here. I wasn't tough enough with this. And so I made a lot of mistakes. And then when I broke away from that situation, because I was being taken advantage of. And I was like, this is a bad situation. I had to get away from it. And I spent a long time where I just got a job, and I spent my 20s just working. And I had friends in the martial arts, so I would drive over here on a weekend, or I would go over there, and I was still involved in the martial arts. But I was kind of a student / helping people as an instructor. And over time, I had a job that I never knew what time I'd be done every day. So you can't run a school if you don't know your scheduling. We talk about it. One day I could finish work at 3 o'clock. Sweet. The next day, I'm getting done at 2. I'm finishing up. And then the boss calls, hey, we got a meeting at 4. And it lasts like 2.5 hours. And there was no reason for a meeting. It was just, that's how the boss was. So I could never have my own school. And as I got older, I actually lost my job, which was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. Because they were treating you horribly. And then I lost my job. I was like, do I really want to fight for a job that I don't like? And my bosses obviously didn't like me and didn't want me around. Why would I fight for that job? And so I was on unemployment for a year. And at that point, I was like, I was going to school. I actually went back to college, was starting to work on that. But I was like, man, if I'm going to start a school, now is the time. And I was older, I was more mature. I knew, I had a better vision of what I would want in my school. And I started.
How old were you when you lost your job?
34.
Okay.
34. Yeah.
So obviously from 19 to 34, a certain level of maturity, and that's when you reinvented yourself. Because
absolutely.
It also talks about your risk appetite, because many people, they and which is again, I'm not judging here. Both the things are right. People at 34, 35, they say, oh, okay, I want stable income and I want to try that. But yeah, that talks volume about, your passion and the risk appetite.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm sure, in the last 20 years of your journey as an entrepreneur and then as a student, there must be many setbacks that you must have faced, right? But if there's one, which is like top of your list in a career, on hindsight, when you look at it and say, thank you, that happened. Because if that would not have happened, I would not be here today. At that point in time, you may be regretting that, but today you say, thank you, that happened.
Well, yes, but I would say there's multiple versions of that.
So yeah,
when I
just at a high
started,
level,
this year, last month, I celebrated my 12th anniversary of having my school. But I didn't start in a building like this. I didn't start in my own place. I started at a community center, a little recreational center, all the way out in Matthews. I was like, oh, there's no Tang Soo Do schools out in Matthews, and I had run one 20 years ago. I said, well, let's do Matthews. I had talked to a buddy of mine. He's like, hey, I know where this rec center is. So I went in and made a deal with them so I could teach 2-3 nights a week. But that became a debacle. That was, I was able to build there, but then they started, the rec center started getting involved in changing my hours a lot, and I started losing people. It became a huge stress. And then they kind of forced me out, and I was teaching there 2 nights. I was teaching at a second location, and then we kind of moved over to that location a couple nights, but that wasn't working. So then I changed, and I found another spot at a church. I was renting their music room at this church/school, and did that, and then I co-rented a place. But I live in Fort Mill. My regular job that I have is in Fort Mill. So I was like, I need to pull my school here. And I co-rented a place for a while, for about a year, and that wasn't working. And then I was able to get a storefront up here finally, at the other end of the parking lot. And that was a struggle to get to that point. But had these other places not worked out, I might still be there and not have my own building.
True.
So those setbacks, as stressful as they are, they
just prepare you.
Absolutely.
Right?
And they also make you appreciate it when you are here. When I look at old pictures, like, oh man, I can't believe I went through that, but it makes this so much more, good feeling for me.
True. How do you handle students? Now, you mentioned about yourself, it was your passion deep down which pushed you, but how do you handle a student who, you see the spark, doesn't have that passion, or hey, just hang in there, do not quit? Because I may be wrong, but I think it's to a large extent it's mental, right? How do you manage that expectation? How do you mentor those students?
You really have to encourage their abilities, because everyone, they might not have, maybe they're not really good flexibility, but you have to have that positive reinforcement on, even if maybe they're not flexible. When you start to see that flexibility improve, right away you have to encourage that. Oh man, you're doing so much better. I'm seeing so much more. That's great. Keep doing that. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. A lot of times instructors only point out what the kids are good at, which you still have to do, but they don't encourage this part of it. And they don't encourage, how I should say.
So encouraging the process rather than just rewarding the outcome. You got to encourage the process. You got to reward the process rather than just rewarding the outcome. And that's when people get motivated. It
takes a lot of encouragement. It takes a lot. And the one thing, I learned years ago was, if you have to, let's just say, correct a student, people don't like being corrected. That's why a lot of adults don't do martial arts like they used to. Adults don't like being told, hey, we got to fix this. Adults don't like being told they did something wrong. Kids, they get that all day long, right? But if you're going to correct somebody, sometimes you have to be strict with them. Before they leave, you got to make them smile with something else. So if we're talking like, hey, if they're being out of line, you got to correct them right there. Whether it's if they're misbehaving, all right, you're going to do push-ups over here for a while. If you have to be tough on them, you got to make sure they get love before they leave. They got to get something positive, make them smile, because when they leave class, the last thing they need to be doing is sulking because they screwed up or they did something wrong. So when they leave class, you want them to be kind of tired and smiling. So the end of class,
a sense of achievement, even if it's like one little small step, but you should feel proud that I did something better than what I did yesterday, right?
Absolutely. And that's where, and you don't always have that victory for every student.
But how do you get that kind of patience, managing? I mean, that's a virtue, right? But
there was a phrase my old instructor used to use, and he never followed it himself. He had a lot of these great insights, but he never followed it. Was teach the way you want to be taught. And when we talk about being a mentor, we talk about being an instructor, sometimes you have to put yourself in their shoes, or their doba, because they're not wearing shoes in here, right? But you understand the analogy.
I understand.
this kid, I have kids from all different walks of life, and some from broken homes, some kids are adopted. Everyone's coming here from different things. And they might be here, they might have an interest in martial arts for different reasons. Maybe this kid's being bullied. Maybe this kid I just want to kick things. I want to, everyone has a different reason.
Peer pressure.
They no confidence, no self-esteem. That has to be a constant thing of reinforcing what they're doing. And I have to engage with every student, every class. And that's hard to do.
So earlier in the podcast, and we spoke about why there was a reason you became independent. Now, the independence from martial arts organization, why did you do that? Why is it important?
Not everyone will go independent. They think there's a security net from being a part of an organization. And there's something to be said for that. And there's something to be said for the camaraderie and the brotherhood of that. My thing is, with my story, I've had way too many people mistreat me. So when I'm independent, no one can walk in here and say, Master Stock, you need to do it this way. No one can come up to me, Master Stock, you need to test this person for his black belt, or this person's not ready to test for their black belt. No one tells me what to do. If you are my student and you've been training and it's okay, it's time to test, I don't want someone walking in here who's like, you know what, he's not ready to go. His roundhouse kick's no good. They can come up and tell you, don't test this person. Or, not all organizations, or they're just going to take a cut of the money. Now, there's some really good organizations out there that don't. And I have some friends of mine that I'm still involved with. I have an instructor, a couple instructors grandmasters that I know, that I communicate with, and I can always go to for advice. And they understand Master Stock has its own thing, and I'll support what they're doing. They support what I'm doing. We have a good rapport, so I don't really have a need to be in an organization.
Very nice.
No one interferes with what I do because their name's not on the building. Mine is.
True.
They're not. If this fails, okay, nothing to them.
Yeah.
They got their money out of me, and now they're going to go find some other sucker.
Yeah.
And no, so it is. If it's going to be my passion, my blood, sweat, and tears, which I've gone through a lot to get to here, it's going to be success and failure on me.
Sure. What does nothing is given and everything is earned mean to you personally?
I could pretty much put that on the wall here. When the students come up and they test for their new belt, and as you know, I'll ask them, was this a gift? This new belt, is that a gift? No, sir. What is it? Did I just give it to you? No, sir. Well, how did you get it? We earned it. That right there is something that most people don't understand.
You're preparing them for life too.
Life does not give. Well, it gives pain, it gives setbacks, it gives you a hard time. Life doesn't cooperate with your plans, okay? You can prepare as much as you want, and life's still gonna throw you a curveball. Like I've had times where I've set everything up, boom, 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 and the next thing you know, life threw a curveball and everything, those dominoes fall. So one of the things I asked at a black belt test not too long ago, I said, we're gonna have challenges in life. Some challenges you already know are coming up. You got kids in high school, you got SATs coming up, right? Is that a challenge? Yes, sir. Okay. I have students going into college. You're gonna have big tests coming up and exams, but you're gonna know about them, right? But how do you prepare for the challenges you don't know are coming? And with that is you gotta have a strong mind and a strong heart, and just be prepared and make sure you have a good support system around you. Because life does not cooperate. No matter how awesome your plan is, no matter how pure your heart is, life is not going to cooperate. It's going to throw you a curveball.
True. If you could give an advice to your younger self before opening White Crest Martial Arts, what would that be? Say a 19-year-old stop.
Oh, wow. As 19 years old,
if you have to meet your younger self today, one piece of advice.
I would have talked about mentor. Find the right mentor. Even as a younger person, I would have been, as a teenager, anything. Find the right mentor. Make people earn the right to be your mentor. Make sure they earn the right to be your friend or partner, whatever. Make sure they earn it. Because when I was younger, like I said, with severe abandonment issues, I didn't understand, and I was taken advantage of a lot when I was younger. And if you have the right mentor, you don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
So that would be the number one thing. And the right mentor would have helped me, understand money and understand, setting up and credit and working towards something and how to build it. Because
you got to earn everything. Life doesn't give you everything.
No, it does not. Yeah. So surrounding yourself with the right people. And it doesn't have to be 20 people, just having a couple people around you that support you. And one of the things I told my friend this past weekend, he was running a tournament. You might not know, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stress.
A lot of logistic.
And when he talked to me, I said, he was thanking me for helping him, which is understandable. And I was like, it was my pleasure. I said, I understand what it takes to do something like that. But I told him, I said, because a lot of the things we do, we're on our own. No one, and you're gonna understand this statement, no one is gonna care about your business more than you.
Agree.
Right? No one's gonna lose sleep as much as you are about your own business.
True.
They might love you to death, they might support you as much as they can, but if they're not gonna feel the stress you're feeling, and they're not gonna go through what you're going through.
I 100% resonate with that, Master Sharp. Last question, it's divided in two. The age group that you teach here, it's from what, 5 to 55?
4 and up.
4 and up. And
yes, sir.
Who's your oldest student?
57.
57? So
Yeah,
obviously they come here to learn something from you. But have you learned from the kids and what? Say a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old. I'm sure there will be so many things that you must have seen. What have you learned? Or are you still learning?
Oh, I'm still learning. Kids always have questions.
Ask me.
And
100 questions in 1 hour.
Man.
Yeah.
I told the students last week, hey, we're gonna do a tournament prep class on Friday. What's that mean? One student asked, I said, what do you think it means, sir? They're gonna prepare for the tournament? So, they just have to ask. And the hard part is, I want them to ask questions, but over time, they'll start asking the right questions. Because when I was coming up, you weren't allowed to ask questions. And I've seen people get injured from that. Because how do we do it? I'll just do it. And next thing you know, you get injured.
Yeah.
And so I want the kids to ask questions. And now I do have to they'll raise their hand and I'll stop them. Is this a question or a statement? I don't know the difference. And statements can wait till after class. But you learn how to teach better every time. I've learned to be a little more strict and with certain things and a little less strict. I learned, let me ask you this question, and now this is my favorite rhetorical question, is how do you explain respect to a 5-year-old? How difficult is that discussion going to be, right?
Yeah.
Because if you had a room full of adults and you ask, what is respect? You're going to get a different answer.
True.
Well, with karate, martial arts, if you create a culture of respect, they will absorb it like a sponge.
True.
I can't explain respect to a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
To them, it's just be nice to everyone. Well, that's true, but there's a lot more to it. And so a couple months ago, one of the students, it was her birthday, and she still came to class. I said, well, everyone, we're gonna wish her a happy birthday. All of a sudden, hands start going up. My birthday's next month, or this boy saying, and I'll stop them. I said, whose birthday is today? And they're pointing to the little girl, and I said, right now, this is not about you. This is disrespect. This is her moment. When your birthday comes up, we will wish you a happy birthday. But you need to let other people have their moment. So I've changed how I teach and things like that, how I speak to them. I'm not being mean when I say you're being disrespectful. I'm doing it from I'm teaching you. When I was younger, I would have just yelled at them.
I mean, I'm facing this pressure. It's an unsaid pressure at home because I've got 2 kids, 5.5, 2.5, and 90% of the time, it's not what I say, but what I do, my actions, and they are just copying it.
Yes.
And without anybody telling me, I feel under pressure that now someone is watching me, even when it's subconsciously, right? I mean, I need to be very careful in terms of my conduct, how I'm eating and how I'm dressing up, how am I talking to others, because they're just copying me. So yes. I totally hear what you're saying.
One of the things is when my students come up to me, and there's this habit that I do, I can have a 4-year-old come up to me, Master Stock, I'll say, yes, sir. I'll talk to them with the same respect that I want them to show me.
Sure.
It's huge. One of the problems that I've had the past few years is my health. I've had 3 surgeries in 5 years, and I'm finally now, I had a really great physical therapist, and I had back surgery last year, so I've been completely out of shape and overweight. And at the end of the day, I am able to start working out again. And I want my students to see that I'm starting to work out,
Right.
that I'm putting my physical health and making it a priority, making it important. Oh, well, Master Stock's training, is when I was younger, I would spar with all the students, and I haven't been able to do that in a long time.
Right.
Even though the students kind of want that. Of course, the kids, they just want to kick me.
Yeah.
But I want them to see, and the students are like, you're walking better. They're noticing that. And like you said, everything we do is under the microscope.
Right.
Even just, we can say something, and kids, they might not remember the technique I taught them, but they'll remember what I said.
Right.
They'll remember how I behaved. And I'm like, can you just have that same memory with your forms and your breaks and whatever you got to do for your test? They will remember what you said.
Last thing, you can look at that camera, and if there's one piece of advice that you want to give maybe a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old who's watching you today about life, about setbacks, what would that be?
Life in general, one of the biggest pieces of advice, and it was something that I wish I had learned when I was younger, was if you want to have a more peaceful life, you need to give up the last word. What I mean by that is people love to argue. They don't like to discuss, and they don't like to learn. They just want to argue. They always want to have the last word. And I remember when I was younger, I had an argument, and an hour later, this thing would pop in my mind. Oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. And there was no point to it. If the moment I gave up the last word, there was so much stress just lifted off my shoulders. Another reason I'm independent, I don't have to argue with people about what I'm doing. And you will have a more peaceful life if you realize people just want to argue, not to be educated. They just want to yell. They just want to scream. They want to be right. A lot of times they don't even know what they're talking about. But if you give up needing the last word, you don't have to defend yourself. If someone's talking bad about me, okay. The people that know me, they're gonna ignore it. The people that don't, maybe they just want to believe it. To me, I make up my own mind. If they say, hey, don't talk to that guy, he's bad news. I'm talking to you, I don't feel that. I make up my own mind and my own opinions on things. I don't need people to tell me what my opinion should be. So that's one of the lessons that unfortunately I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. No, but thank you so much,
Yes, sir.
for your valuable insight. And I'm telling you, whether there's a person sitting in Boston or in Bangalore, they're going to be learning so much just virtually listening to you today. So Tang Soo.
Tang Soo, sir. Thank you
so
very much for your time.
But I'm not letting you go right now.
Okay.
I don't have any roundhouse kick to throw at you, but I do have a fun little rapid fire.
Okay.
All right? Are you game for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the rapid fire?
Yes, sir.
The only one rule here is it has to be rapid. You don't get enough time to think about it, okay?
Okay.
One thing that the students would be surprised to learn about you.
Nothing. I'm pretty transparent.
Good. Judo or Tang Soo Do?
Tang Soo Do.
Your favorite martial arts movie of all time?
Best of the best.
Okay. The belt that you were most proud to earn?
I'm most proud is the first time when I got my 4th degree black belt. It was the hardest test. It was the hardest test I ever took. And at the end of the test, I was completely soaked, but I wasn't hunched over for breath. I was a lot younger then, but just ready to go, proper position. Not as tough as that test was, I was still not.
And you have done this 7 times.
Yes,
My God. First word that comes to your mind, or a statement that comes to your mind when I say the word discipline?
Consistency. So, and I say that because discipline takes multiple forms. Is discipline just making your bed in the morning? It has to be consistent. Everyone can make their bed once a week. Are you doing it every morning? It's easy to come to class and work really hard, but can you do it consistently? So they say the first discipline is showing up for class.
Yep.
But you got to be consistent. I've seen people that you can go to a local gym and you see that one guy, he's kind of out of shape. He's huffing and puffing, he's working really hard, but then you don't see him for another 2 weeks. he's not going to get any better. But you get that consistency, that other person is 3 times a week, maybe not putting in the same effort, they're going to have results. Why? Consistent discipline.
Go to the gym first week of January and you will see.
Absolutely. That discipline went away.
What's more harder, breaking a board or breaking bad habits?
Breaking bad habits.
If you weren't a martial art instructor, what would you be doing?
I have no idea.
So no backup
idea.
plan?
I have nothing. I mean, I have a regular job. I'm a supervisor for a company, but I kind of fell into that. And please don't take that as disrespect, because I actually have a really good job in addition to this, one of the best jobs I've ever had. And I'm not blowing smoke when I say that, because I've said it to my students before. I never had a game plan. I'm not a cubicle kind of person. If I'm sitting at a desk all day, that would drive me nuts.
But sometimes I feel it's always, sometimes it's good for not having a backup plan. Like for example, when I started this, I was getting plenty of offers, right, to join another organization. And I was like, maybe this is God's way of trying me how serious I am about my own business.
And then again,
Do I get tempted?
That goes back to that independent thing. I've got my vision. I don't want anyone directing my vision, if you know what I mean.
Yep, no, I totally agree. Coffee, tea, or energy drink before a big day?
Tea.
Last thing that made you laugh?
Oh, just joking with friends. I had lunch with a buddy yesterday. We were just joking around. And
what was the last thing you Googled?
Last thing I Googled was over the weekend. We were at this tournament. Another instructor had these plastic board holders. So we're Googling which company was that sold them.
Who inspires you outside martial arts?
Outside of martial arts, I don't really know many people outside of martial arts anymore. I would say the number one person that inspires me overall is my students.
Very nice.
You know,
Good
outside
answer.
of martial arts, not really.
And final question, finish this sentence. Resilience means what? Resilience means what?
Resilience means what? Well, resilience is very similar to perseverance. Resilience is, what are you willing to do to achieve your goals, and how long? Like, are you prepared for a long journey to reach your goals? That's what resilience is. You've got to be ready for setbacks, ups and downs. Are you going to prepare yourself mentally and physically for the long haul, which most people are not willing to do? They're in society today, everyone's accustomed to instant success. Doesn't work that way.
True.
They see people online, I want to do that. I want to do that. You know, like a podcaster, they see a podcaster. You know, it takes time, effort, learning, educating yourself, preparation. Most people aren't willing to do that because all they see is the end result.
True.
You know, they see
the grind?
The grind. And last year, one of my students tested for his black belt, and the next day we had a party here, just summer, and one of the parents of a different child came up and thanked me for what we do here, for how we're pushing the students to be better and to do better and to do more and to work and earn what they want, because they're not getting that in society anymore. You know, when I took my students to this tournament, I said, you don't get a participation medal. You're not going to get a medal just for showing up. If you get a medal, it's because you earned it.
Right.
And so are you willing to be resilient to go to a tournament and maybe not win anything?
Yeah.
I've had that happen. I've driven to Boston before years and years ago, came home empty-handed. Had students, we drove back in like the 90s, and we drove 15 hours for a tournament, and I didn't win anything, nothing. And luckily my students won a couple trophies, so I was like, good. But I didn't win anything at the time. And are you willing to have some heartbreak, or heartache, I should say, on your path to achieving your goals?
Well, Master Stock, I don't have any belts to give you. You did amazingly well in your rapid fire, but I can definitely take you out for a cheat meal if you wish to. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir.
Again,
Thank you
very
very much. Tang Soo, sir.
All right.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Well, that was Master Stokes reminding us that mastery isn't about the belt around your waist. It's about the mindset that you carry. Through his story, we have seen how struggle can shape strength, how independence can foster integrity, and our humble martial arts school in Fort Mill, South Carolina is teaching life lessons with every class. Whether you're facing your own battle or simply looking to sharpen your spirit, I hope Master Stokes' journey gave you the courage to move forward, one disciplined step at a time. Thanks for tuning in again to Midday with Ranjay. If you found this episode meaningful, please share it with someone who could use a dose of resilience. And remember, magic happens outside your comfort zone. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight. Tang Soo.